Hello and welcome to the Epic Love Show. This is episode 96. I'm Travis Suit, and I am your host for today's show. I believe one of the most valuable gifts that you can give yourself is love. And sharing the stories of how we persevere through adversity and how it helps us give love to the world is why we do this show. And joining us on this journey is your opportunity to learn and be inspired as well. And the mission of the Epic Love Show is to cultivate a greater sense of awareness and compassion in the world by sharing these inspiring stories of love through action. And we have a wonderful and beautiful guest, Miss Audrey Sutton Mills, who will be joining us today. And I'm very excited to have her on. The show is brought to you by the Piper's Angels Foundation for Cystic Fibrosis. You can learn more at pipersangels.org. We are live each week on Facebook and YouTube at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and always available for playback on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Pandora. I want to give a huge shout out to all of our weekly listeners around the world tuning in to Epic Love, our Epic Lovers out there. Thank you for your continued support and engagement on each show. It makes it fun and interactive. We appreciate your questions, so definitely fire them off if you have, especially for Audrey today. And joining me in studio is our audiovisual engineer, Jason the Epicster, bringing fresh dad jokes each week to kick us off. Jason, do you have any dad jokes this week for us?
I got to see if I have any of my notes that I haven't done yet because I've been working so much on the audio and visual part this week that I didn't get the jokes
That's
together.
Okay. I just want to give a shout out to Ricky Aiken of Inner City Innovators. He was a previous guest twice on the Epic Love Show. And today is Hope Dealer Day.
I was going to wish him a happy Hope Dealer's Day.
Yes, thank you. Hope Dealer Day is the first day of every month. And you can support Inner City Innovators by checking out their website, going on their social, and rocking one of their awesome Hope Dealer shirts, bringing good to the hood. It's an awesome mentorship program that Ricky is instituting here locally in West Palm Beach, a model that I believe successfully with his vision and leadership can be taken to a national level. So please support the Hope Dealers and Ricky. Thank you as always. This week's guest is a very special guest, Miss Audrey Sutton Mills. She is the founder of Soul School. She's a yoga instructor, a soul mentor, podcaster, writer, and a new mom to a little girl named Hunter. Audrey believes we all have a light within us, but it gets covered up by life. Her purpose is to help women uncover their light and embody their worth, that you are enough and that you matter. Through her podcasting, writing, events, and Soul School online courses, she teaches women tools to cultivate deeper self-love so they can become the person they want to be and live their most expansive life. What a beautiful mission. Thank you, Audrey, for joining us on the Epic Love Show.
Wow. Thank you for an amazing introduction. Wow. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And where are you joining us from?
From Seattle.
Okay. Awesome. Great to have the West Coast in the house.
Yes. And I used to be in West Palm Beach with you guys about 5 years ago, but we moved here. There's a little bit of a lag time. So let me know if my earbuds are okay.
Yes, there's a little bit of a lag, but you're still coming in loud and clear. So I think we're good. We'll just roll with it.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Yeah. So thank you for coming on the show. So I'm going to dive right in and get right to it. We had a great conversation before the show, and it was wonderful to learn about all that you're doing and the unique perspective that you have and how you're teaching And your core focus is helping people understand that you are enough and you matter. So what does that mean to you? And how did you arrive at that station, that was really the core of it?
Yes, it's there's a Mark Nepo quote that I love, and he says, "We either willfully shed or we are broken open." And I was kind of broken open. I had Audrey 1.0. My previous life, I was a realtor. I had 100 employees, 8 offices in the Bay Area and Silicon Valley. Successful, top 30 under 30, and I was miserable, like super miserable, and just working. And I don't know if anyone else can resonate with this, where you're just on this treadmill that you can't get off of. And, it's like you're working to live, but you're not living. And my hair was falling out. I was spending, $500 to $800 a month on just doctor bills, chiropractor. My body was falling apart.
Wow.
And it all kind of broke open on my birthday on New Year's Eve. And I had turned to my ex-husband now and said I want a divorce over the New Year's Eve countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that was where I was broken open. And it took me a couple years to go find myself. But I think sometimes our breakdowns can go into our biggest breakthroughs and transformations. And that's where I was, a decade ago. And I went on this path to find my purpose and find joy. And now I get to help others do the same.
Wow. That's a really interesting kind of launch into this new chapter of your life. The New Year's crack open.
Right.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Right on my birthday too. He's like, oh gosh.
What's your birthday?
Yeah, New Year's Eve is my birthday. So yeah, we were with 22 of our friends in Whistler, and just cracked open.
Wow.
Just cracked the wide open. But I think it's good, and we need to bring awareness to these kind of blind spots, and that's what I needed to do, and it's great because it helped me kind of find myself and learn about that, and now I get to help others do the same through Soul School and through my workshops and retreats.
Yeah, I can relate, and it's interesting. You and I are both Capricorns. I was born January 4th, so we share
nice.
that in common, energetically and cosmically, celestially,
Yes.
which is fun. So I will always think about you now around New Year's Eve and the birthday, and sometimes I host New Year's Eve parties, so that'll be fun. Maybe we should celebrate 1 year together.
Yes, I would love to come down to Florida.
Yeah, how are you enjoying Seattle?
Oh, it's great. I'm from the Bay Area, so being on the West Coast again is really nice. But I loved being in Jupiter. It's paradise there.
Yeah, two different worlds, like energetically, right? You have they have a different balance and a different. I lived in California for a year and I really loved it, but I just often, for me, I just felt it wasn't like the latitude, longitude I needed to be on. And being in Florida, it somehow resonated differently with me. So I was reading on your website, and this is some of the stuff we talked about, but I love your languaging and the way you have presented the content. You do such a good job, like with your podcast. You have some great topics on there, which I definitely want to touch on later in the show. But something jumped out at me that I thought was interesting, and I wanted to ask you about it. What is the Itty Bitty Shitty Committee?
Yes, it's pretty much what I love to teach, and it's the Itty Bitty Shitty Committee is our inner critic. That voice in our head, and sometimes it's not just one inner critic; it's like a whole host of people. So it's that committee that's like over here and saying you can't do this, or you shouldn't do this, or who do you think you are to do that? And sometimes that voice can get so loud that we either forget or we can't hear that whisper of our heart and soul. And that's what I teach is, when we can quiet the itty bitty shitty committee, then we can connect to our own truth. And really that truth is you are enough and you matter, and only you have gifts that only you can share that are unique to this world. And when we can kind of like believe that, right, when we can kind of step into our own power and authenticity, really truly magic can happen for you and for other people.
Yeah. Does teaching come naturally to you, or is this something that you have cultivated?
No, I am such a shy person, and everyone who's like, you are? No, I'm a total introvert. I love people. I love connection with people, but yes, I'm a total introvert, and so I've kind of had to learn this. It helps, I guess, being in sales and real estate and being with people. I do better in small groups or one-on-one than big groups. But it's funny because I've taught with hundreds of people, and people are like, oh, you look fine out there. But no, it doesn't come naturally. But I do think that when you speak with a rawness and an honesty and a realness from your own experience, not to prove something to somebody, but just to like open up space for them to see that gift in themselves. That's when it becomes easy, because you get to see that person blossom, and it's all worth it.
Yeah. So we all go through, it seems like, these cycles of metamorphosis, the caterpillar into the butterfly, and it's often painful. I went through a divorce recently. I cried every day for 3 months. I mean, it was very emotional. Why do you think we have to go in life to find that next stage of our evolution?
Some people, like that Mark Nepo quote, he's my favorite poet, and some people willfully shed, and I just wasn't. I had to be broken open and cracked open. And some people, I don't know, maybe they have that easy blossoming, and others have to be cracked open. But I do think that we all are going to go through some evolution of some sort. And there's that quote that God gives us what we can handle, and sometimes it angers me because I'm like, please God, don't teach me anything today. I can't handle it today. But it's like I do believe that we are more resilient and stronger than we give ourselves credit, and that's the itty bitty shitty committee. It always undermines us and undercuts the things that we desire, but we have to climb our own summit. Right. And whatever that summit looks like for you, to get to where you want to be and the person you're meant to be.
Right. And right now that summit for a lot of people in the world with the pandemic and everything that's going on, it's there. That summit is in front of a lot of people. And it seems like the Earth as a whole is going through that shedding process, in a sense, in a way, nature. And I want to talk about the F word, which is one I love to talk about, because fear is such a big part and plays such a big role of all of these phases of our life, from the time we're a baby until we face the ultimate reality that we're, as I like to say, in relationship to the cystic fibrosis community, they are living with a terminal disease, but we're all born terminal. And so that existential distress, fear of dying, the anxiety, the depression, all of this stuff that builds in our life, the fear of switching gears, like you talked about, shifting out of a very successful but a very stressful stage of your life. So you mentioned this idea of befriending fear on your website. What does fear look like to you, and what does fear look like to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone has their own definition of fear, and I think for a long time, for me, it was uncertainty. So change, uncertainty. I think a lot of us can relate to that, especially with what we're going through right now with the pandemic, and through protests and riots and the injustice that's happening. I think for me, this pandemic has really showed us that, like you said, there's so much uncertainty out there, and what are we going to do about it? Are we going to ball up and go into our hole and try to numb and distract? And I've done that before, and I can say it just doesn't work, at least for me. Or we can step into our own courage and face whatever we're fearing, whether it's uncertainty or health or riots or safety or money or whatever it may be for you at that time. It's always going to change. But when we can lean into what we're fearful of and what's triggering us, and actually like hold space for it, sit with it, and then learn from it, that's when we start to really transform and evolve. And in Soul School, I teach about shadow work. It's a 7-week course, and one of the weeks is all on shadows. So it's our dark and our light parts of our personality. And those dark parts of our personality, we stuff down because we deem them not acceptable or we fear them. And that's actually where a lot of our gifts are hidden, in those dark places. But it's only when you can go into that dark that you can uncover the light and let that light shine. And that's honestly, I feel, as humans, what we're meant to be. We're not meant to numb or compare or criticize ourselves. That's not love, right? But we're really here to shine our light, whatever that is. And each of us has a unique light and a gift to give.
Yeah. Well, beautifully said. Wow. Thank you. I can really feel your energy, even though you're a couple thousand miles away. I can feel your energy. I can feel your light. And it's really beautiful. I'm so happy you're on the show and you're sharing it. And I hear that word used a lot, like the word light, the word light body, the word luminous, and I find it really interesting, this aspect of light and how it relates to us as humans, because I feel like as our separate selves, it's a very dense world, and those dark, heavy, fearful thoughts, those places we go when we're upset, they feel like that shadowy side of life, and they feel dark. And on the way to the show, actually, I saw a rainbow. It was really beautiful. There was we've had all this Saharan dust that blew in, and it's kept all the humidity out of the air for about a week. And so we haven't had any clouds for about a week, which is a strange phenomenon for the summertime, when we have a consistent rain cycle from the heat and the humidity. And so today was the first day back with clouds. And so the light was playing in a very interesting way. And there were dark clouds, and there was light coming out from behind those clouds. And then over the ocean, over the Jupiter Inlet, I took a picture of it. There was this beautiful rainbow. And I find it really fascinating that, and I'm going to get a little metaphysical here for those out there who maybe aren't too familiar with this, but look, the spiritual or the energetic energy centers of the body. It's chakras, as they're called. They're in the color of a rainbow, from red, like when you learn in high school the acronym for the rainbow, it's Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. They're the colors of the rainbow. And I didn't realize that until this year. And I just find that really fascinating. And I've been asking people, like, why do you think that is? Like, what would be the reasoning for your chakras, your energy centers, to be the colors of the rainbow?
Yeah. That's a
Have
great
you ever
correlation.
thought about that?
I don't know why they are. I probably should, but no, that's a beautiful correlation. I think a lot of times we can learn from nature, right? Like, nature is one of those greatest teachers. And I love that you correlated the rainbow to the colors of our chakras, and that makes sense, because we are nature. Nature is us. Like, we are each other. I love that. That's beautiful, Travis.
Well, and I found it really right. And I asked my daughter Piper, and she's 12, and I said, "Why do you think that is?" Because Well, we talk about this. It goes back to light. You know, we're bringing our light. If we're bringing our light and we're really shining, you know, if we have light that is existing through us or as a part of us, and she picked up on it and she said, well, it's in relationship, or it could be in relationship to the fact that we're made out of water. So when light shines through clouds and water vapor, it makes a rainbow. And so when light shines through us, it makes a rainbow because we're 75 or 76%. And I thought that was really interesting.
That's really cool. She's so smart and creative. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, she is a smart cookie. Sometimes too smart for her own good, because she acts like she's 25 and she's not.
Yeah.
But she's really on the ball. So I want to ask you, you know, you talk about creating a legacy on your site and as a part of your work and the Soul School. And I know recently you had a baby as well. So I'd love for you just to share a little bit about your new gift of love in the world, Miss Little Hunter.
I am a new rookie
How is she
mom. She's great. She's outside with her dad. It's interesting. I think being a parent, you know, you just learn so much about yourself. There's, you know, a part of you that kind of dies, right? Like your single freedom self. And then you like learn to sacrifice, right? And I didn't realize how selfish I was before, but you know, then you kind of do that like transformation, and you go through a rite of passage, and you become a parent, right? And I think you learn so much too. You know, she's only a year and a half, and she teaches me every day of, you know, how to find joy and just how to laugh and find the simple things in life. And yeah, she's amazing, and how to be really resilient and courageous and brave. And yeah, she's just a powerful little being.
Yeah, and how they draw you into being present, because not only do you have to be really situationally aware because they are totally relying on you to protect them and take care of them, but also I always like to joke about this show. It's always fun because I feel like I sometimes flip a switch, although this is my natural personality to a degree. I feel like you got to flip a switch when you go live because you're on the air, you know, you're live. And we've always joked about how, you know, when you're around kids, you're always live. Like, you're on the air all the time because they're always listening.
Oh, yeah. She picks up on everything. It's crazy.
How old is she now?
She's a year and a half. So it's a fun age. She just dances and plays and, you know, copies you. It's so fun and challenging too, you know. So we talked about those triggers earlier. Oh gosh, yeah. She's probably saying a new 1 to 3 words a day.
Wow.
I know.
Cool. Well, I'm excited for you, and that's what a wonderful journey that is for you and your husband, and for Hunter. And man, she has a fantastic mom. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. You know, I was really nervous to have a girl when I probably shouldn't share this live on air, but we opened up it was a surprise of what we were having, and we opened it up and it was like, you're having and we turned it around, we're like, a girl, and we were videotaping ourselves. And I said, oh, we're having a girl. Oh, you know, my husband looked at me and like, should we turn the video off? And I feel so bad about that because one, I'm a woman, I support women. But I think those fears, you know, of having a teenager daughter and, you know, of having to protect her and keep her safe, you know, we're so terrifying to me. And also knowing what I was like in high school too, you know, sorry, mom. You know, so those kind of made me fearful. But I think as parents, you know, we learn about ourselves, we learn about our past, and we get to reparent ourselves as we're parenting our children, if that makes sense. And that's one of the things that really healed me. And I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, tell me about that. What do you mean by reparent? Because that's the first time I've ever heard that before.
Yeah, it's great, and it fascinated me too. And honestly, it's one of the tools that has really helped me. And then now I get to share too in Soul School. And it's we all have an inner child, right? So you have a little boy inside you. I have a little girl who needs that nurturing that perhaps we didn't receive when we were young. And that doesn't mean that we had an awful childhood. Like I had a great childhood. I had a loving mom and a dad, and they were my best friends, and they really took care of me. But they parented with their own wounds, right? So um, if they had certain dreams that were unmet, they may have placed those dreams on me. Everyone knows as a parent, you're doing the best that you can. But we also parent from our old wounds, right? And so reparenting yourself is connecting to, like for me, connecting to that little girl inside me and always checking in and seeing what she needs and how she's doing. And as the adult self, this might be too woo-woo, but as the adult Audrey, I can now connect with little Audrey and parent her the way that I need today. So maybe this is just an example, but for example, if you were taught that it's bad to cry, and so you kind of grew up, you don't cry, you don't show emotion, you compartmentalize things. Well, now as an adult, you can start to reparent yourself and say it's okay to cry. Like actually it's a very healing, very therapeutic thing to do. Like it's important to show yourself and to release these emotions, otherwise they just bottle up and you become a hot mess, right? And you say, I want a divorce on New Year's Eve over the DJ, So this is how we learn to like heal ourselves. And what's beautiful is as we can heal ourselves as parents and as a parent and become conscious, right? I mean, I really think that's where our children, they're not like ours to mold. Really, they're here to uncover our consciousness. So to bring us to consciousness, right? And you even said it earlier, like our kids, like they are fully present and they make us be present and mindful, right? Like you're trying to be on your phone, that's when your kid's like, hey, mommy, daddy, and you're like, oh, but they are fully present. They're fully conscious and mindful and in the moment. And I think that's one of her biggest gifts is she teaches me to be a more conscious person, right? And so the idea of reparenting ourselves is connecting to that little child within you that still needs nurturing and support. And sometimes I think as adults we think it's silly to be like, oh, I need to rest, or I need to eat, or I need to take care of myself, or I just want to cry, or I want to feel. But actually these are very healthy activities, healthy emotions. And that's how we get to reparent ourselves, is to support ourselves and to nurture ourselves and to give that loving kindness that we desire still as adults.
Yeah. I love that you said that our kids help us uncover our consciousness. That's really beautiful. I've never heard that before, and I love that. And I'm going to steal it because I'm definitely going to take that as a tool and put it in my tool bag and remember that. Cool. For sure. So thank you for that. I feel like I'm getting some good coaching here.
Well, I didn't make it up.
Yeah, and that whole aspect of you mentioned like not expressing emotions and things like that. When I was a kid, I thought that being tough and being strong meant you didn't cry, and that you held it in. And I have a whole different outlook on crying now and sharing that expression. And I really would love for the world to adopt a new way of looking at crying and really see it as what it is, which it's one of the most beautiful expressions of a human being. The fact that we can experience something, whether it's joy or sadness, and that there's this capability of our body through our eyes, which is, where we really connect with people, to and actually manifest and produce tears. And I just find that to be such a beautiful experience. of humanity. And it's interesting how when you're with somebody and they start crying, people often get uncomfortable with that. And if somebody is sharing that expression with you, it's possibly one of the most beautiful and intimate things that somebody could share with you. So if they are, we really could, and you use the term hold the space, which I love, we really could come from a place of holding the space in a way that shows them that you feel honored and you feel gratitude for them sharing that with you, because obviously they're going through something and they felt that they were comfortable enough with you to do that. And I just think that even if it was just that simple of a shift in people's awareness that this is a moment to embrace, not a moment to, resist or push back or hold back or run from, that could be pretty transformational for people.
Yeah, I think we are, like you said, the F word, right? It's like we're fearful of not just these like big things, but we're fearful of emotions. We're fearful of vulnerability. And, in general, I think for men, they have this societal pressure of, being a breadwinner, being strong, whatever that means, not looking weak. And so they were taught somewhere, whether it's in school or by their children or other caregivers or parents or family or cousins, to be a certain way. And similarly, women have certain pressures as well, right? To be youthful and thin and happy. It's like, to be nurturing and motherly. And, really, it's just about being you and allowing yourself to fully be in your fullest version of you. And that also looks like feeling your feelings fully, because if you don't, they just never leave you. They just bubble up, right? It's like brushing your feelings underneath the rug, and then you've got this pile of crap like that's like in the middle of your living room, and you're trying to like be like, oh, we're fine, everything's okay, and it's not. And we have to kind of declutter, right? Declutter our emotions. And it's very healthy to feel them fully. Just like it's very healthy to express yourself fully from a place of love, not the ego, not the itty bitty shitty committee that loves to compare or compete, either with other people, or you compare yourself as less than or you're better than, but really from a place of equality and a place of love and tenderness.
Right. Yeah. I can feel that. I can really feel what you're saying.
We're going deep tonight.
I'm just taking it in. That's good. That's where we want to go. There's too much of this superficiality in the world. People, they don't dive in, and epic love to me is about that hero's journey. And that's what, it's kind of based in the literary sense in an epic and about that story. And epic love can be expressed as something small, that you do, or something bigger. But yeah, that's really powerful. So in your soul school, which I love that name. In your soul school, is this idea of a legacy, is it part of that reparenting, part of the fact that you typically work with females and women, and that's your focus on empowerment? Is that legacy a part of that?
Yeah, I hope so. And actually, Leanne wrote on there on Facebook, and she said it's for female and male, right? It's for everybody. Everybody is here to have that hero's journey, right? Of climbing that mountain and getting to the top and feeling empowered, and then sharing whatever gifts that they have with the world. And I hope, I don't know, I hope one of mine is to help people quiet their inner critic, or I call it the itty bitty shitty committee, and really connect to that place of love and truth and worth, because everybody deserves that. Everybody deserves that. And so my soul school, I have a couple different versions. One is basic modules that you can buy online. And then the other one is a 7-week program that I take you through. And this time we had 51 people and 2 were men, So even though I think speak more towards women, it includes everybody, right? So, and before that, I used to only work with male athletes. So it's interesting that I've kind of done this shift, but yeah, I think everybody can benefit from quieting that chatter of our mind and being more mindful and connecting to their own worth, that they're enough and they matter.
Yeah. What are some of your daily practices personally that you do to just kind of maintain your state of being, your wellness? And I love that you use the word curating more self-love.
Yeah. So as a mom, especially a new mom, there wasn't that much self-care practices going on. Those kind of went out the window for a year. And I went to a yoga retreat, and we talked about rituals. So like, how do you find your core values, and how do you do a ritual to like come home to yourself like every day? And so one of mine that I used to love was journaling and meditating. And so I've incorporated that. And for any new parents out there who are lacking sleep, and Hunter was not a good sleeper until about 10 months old. And I needed this. I needed that time, for myself. And so literally it's 11 minutes. I set my timer, and I play the same song, and I make myself a cappuccino at home, and I sit and I meditate, and then I journal afterwards. So it's about a 20-minute thing that I give to myself. And for a long time, that was my only time. And that's where I think as new parents, I feel for you, because that's a tough transition. It's a tough rite of passage, of letting go of like your freedom and your personal time, and then, trying to find it again and scramble for just space.
Right.
But it sounds silly. Like when I tell my friends, they're like, you give yourself 11 minutes. And I say, yeah, and that 11 minutes is sacred and it's mine, because it's important to connect. And a lot of times my meditation is so crazy. It's not even like close to being Zen, like, it's like a to-do list and a shoulda and a woulda and all these different things. I talk about the committee. It's a lot of different voices. But then at least I start my day knowing where I'm at and knowing how I can take care of myself. And oftentimes I actually daily, I check in with my inner child. So I have a timer on my phone, and it says, have you checked in with little Audrey today? And so at that moment, it goes off, and I look, and I just, take a couple seconds and say, little Audrey, how are you doing today? And I hear, and this might be like totally woo woo for anyone who's new to this or listening, but she'll say like, oh, I'm sad today, or I'm scared, or I'm like feeling really joyful, or I need to play, and, a lot of times our adult voice just like squashes that creativity and curiosity and playfulness inside us, that joy, right? So those are my two kind of rituals that help me ground when I feel kind of groundless and untethered.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing those. Those are great practices, and I would encourage anybody listening. I myself, I'm going to schedule my inner child check-in. It reminds me, I watched that documentary on Netflix about Mr. Rogers, who I was a huge fan of when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
And I hadn't thought about him in a long time, and to watch that documentary, there's the documentary, but then there's the film with Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks does a phenomenal job. And I was just so taken aback, and I was so impressed with how he spoke to everyone with love. And he never came from that critical parent mode. He was always, whether it was adult or a child, he really spoke to them with kindness and love. And it was almost like he was always talking to everybody in inner child mode.
Yes. Yeah, that's so true, right? Like what you tell a child is the same loving messages that you need for yourself as an adult. I need to go watch those movies.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. You should check it out for sure. You can, they're beautiful. We get a box of tissues though.
I cry a lot, so yeah.
So Yeah. So if anybody out there in Facebook land or on any of the pages this is being distributed to, if you have a question, please drop it in the comments. Love to hear it. We've got about 10 minutes left on the show. I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. I have so many questions, and I love how you communicate what you do. You're obviously a super professional at it, and I can understand why you have so many people signing up for your courses and events. Just kind of a day-to-day thing, and I know we've talked a little bit about what we can do daily. You distinguish between multitask and multi-focus. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Right. Yes, as adults, unfortunately, I was kind of that victim of the rat race where you're on that treadmill, and if anyone's there where they're just like working and they're just not feeling that purpose, right? They're feeling their light being dimmed. That's us multitasking, right? And so, yes, physically we can multitask. We can do a lot of different things. We could be cooking dinner. We could be thinking, something. We could be, crafting our next book in our head while we're taking care of our kids, while we're having another conversation on the phone. We could do a lot of things, but we cannot do everything well. And so the idea of mindfulness is, although we can multitask, we cannot multifocus. So when you think about, if I'm talking to you, Travis, but I'm somewhere else in my head, and we've all been there, right? We've been driving, we're having conversation, we're multitasking, but really we're not generously listening to the other person.
Right.
We're not there. We're not there. And we've also been on the receiving end, I'm sure, where, you tell a story and the person asks you the question, you're like, I just told you that, like you weren't listening. And I think as humans, we all want to be seen, and we all want to feel heard and feel significant, right? So, yes, although you can multitask, you cannot multifocus. And when you can focus, like when you look at the word focus, it means focus laser beam on one thing, right? And I find that when we can focus, one, our physical energy, like we're a lot more productive, we're in flow. And then when we can focus towards each other, so when we're intentionally listening, not with the the intention to like speak, right? I'm not listening to you and formulating my next thought in my head to talk at you, but to talk with you, right? To have a conversation. And I think a lot of times we're missing that, right? So in this pandemic, a couple lessons that at least I've learned is how far we are from dealing with fear and uncertainty. We just, as a whole world society, we're not doing so well on that, right? We're not being present. And two is that laser beam focus of intentionally and generously listening. So listening to you, listening to each other, and then listening to yourself, right? So you can only attune to yourself when you're grounded, when you're out of your head, when you're not listening to the itty bitty shitty committee, and when you're really staying connected to that whisper, right? And you can only hear that whisper when you can quiet that loud chatter of your mind. So that's the multitasking, yes, but we cannot multifocus.
Wow. I love that. There's so much depth to that. I don't know if I was anticipating or expecting less, but I mean that, wow, you took it to the root. And it's so interesting how we falter with that daily, on a daily basis, being conscious, being present. Really, I am adopting this term. I love adopting things and like putting tools in my tool bag. I've already got one really good tool in my tool bag. The second tool bag is generously listening.
Yes.
I'm that as my upfront contract. I'd be like, you know what? Look, I want to be generous with my listening, and I really want to feel what you're sharing. So thank you for that. That's powerful.
Thank you. Thank you for like having this show so that other people can do the same.
Yeah, I love this show. It's a great forum and there's so much out there in the world that is just the itty bitty shitty committee of media that just people like out there just talking from an unconscious state, from a fear-based state, from a profit state, not from a purpose of, place of purpose.
Yes.
So I love your blog. We've got about 4 minutes left in the show, and I wanted to touch on your blog because if for all the listeners out there, Audrey has blog articles that cover a variety of topics, some that are really relevant to the kind of cultural narrative of today. For example, how to deal with your racist family. Thought that one was awesome. How to meditate, 5 easy steps, healing birth trauma, creating easy and lasting habits, what to do when the universe gives you a big old shit burger. That was a good one.
That was right at the start of the pandemic. I'm like, oh, come on, world.
Yeah. And so I love the content. I invite everybody to go check out her blog and read into it. If you've got questions, tell Audrey, check out her Instagram. She posts beautiful content, great inspirational stuff. And check out the website. That's her Instagram handle. We just threw it up on the ticker. Thank you, Jason. And so any final words as we land the plane here on the show, Audrey?
Yeah, really. It's the same mantra that I always have is you are enough and you matter, and if you can't stand by that right now, that's just the itty bitty shitty committee taking the wheel. And how we do that is through small steps, right? Small baby steps of love, of listening to yourself, of honoring yourself, right? And then that builds into that transformation. And you didn't even know it. You could look back and, you've been climbing up that mountain and you summited it and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know how I did this. But it's really through those small conscious actions. But you are worth it. You have a gift. And it's honestly, it's our we talked about legacy. It's your legacy to share that. So that's my last and final
thank
thought.
you. Yeah, thank you very, very much for bringing your light and love to the world and for generously listening to all of the hearts that desire to grow and to be better and how you empower them to do that. I'm so grateful that we got to have you here with us and share that message and with our cystic fibrosis community as well. So thank you. And I hope to have you on the show again sometime.
Thanks so much, Travis. And thank you guys for listening. It's been an honor.
Absolutely. And thank you to everybody out there. You've been listening to the Epic Love Show. I'm Travis Sutton. You can follow this show on Instagram and Facebook. If you haven't yet, please, 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 let's share and promote the positive with the world. Let's share beautiful people like Audrey. Let's share inspiring stories. Go to our YouTube channel. We just created the YouTube channel not too long ago. We've already got 25 subscribers. I can't wait until we have 25,000. We're going to be sharing lots of love and light with the world. Please subscribe. Join me next week for another episode of the Epic Love Show with featured guest, the amazing world champion stand-up paddler, Seychelles. She will be on. That's next Wednesday, July 8th, same time, same place, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you to our amazing audience of epic lovers out there in the world, bringing the love that you have, bringing the light that you have. Keep promoting the positive and lead with love because you are light. Peace on earth, everybody. See you next time.
Yeah. Spread the love all over the world.